Hey everyone, Mathew again, teaching about the body's role as a teacher for the mind, for people that are living with trauma and for you all that are helping trauma. What I want to realize that the body is a teacher. You have to start letting sensations, which paying attention to sensations, your body, start to change your mind. And so we've been, in the last few weeks, this is like the 5th week, we've been talking about like the sensation of feeling more connected or disconnected. If you drop your chest, you're less connected to the space around you. The sensation of grounding, so like putting your hands and feet, right? Grounding your hands and feet, putting your hands on the table, feeling your feet, lifting your chest, right? The sensation of expansion, the sensation of balance, right? And now I want to spend more time today on the sensation or realizing a sense of direction. So one of the reasons why I think the body is such an important teacher is that for someone that's been living with trauma, that has trouble with feeling control and being able to do things, is that you get to practice in your own mind-body relationship at your own pace. You can be alone, you can be with people. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do to feel in control and feel and utilize a sense of precision and strength and expansion simultaneously. So that I think this is going to be a contradiction. I think that the mind-body relationship is both a metaphor for how to live in your whole life, and it's literal. That you can learn things about your how to move into the world, and it from learning how to do it in a yoga pose. So, like for example, have you ever heard the idea of a middle space in your vision? So right now, if you focus on something in particular, you look at something, like I'm trying to look at the grains on my window pane, on the wood, right? And then if you close your eyes, and then if you look, and then don't stare at the object, but be in the middle space between the focusing your attention and having your eyes closed. That middle space is actually where a lot of the grace of the mind-body relationship, but it's also how people can disassociate too, right? And so as you like feel, if you instead of focusing like you're furrowing your brow, trying to read something over there, be in the middle space, but then put grounding. Take the middle space where you daydream, right? And ground it through your sitting bones and lift your chest. But stay in the middle space of your vision. That you get to that energy that has less definition, that I'm using as a metaphor in your vision. That space can be grounded and in fact can feed into a sense of direction, right? And this is one of the big things you're learning in a yoga pose, is that you're going inward, developing a little inner awareness by feeling different parts of your body. So you're sitting in a chair, feel your sitting bones in your feet, lift up through the chest. Now, typically how we teach the middle space is to say, soften your eyes and soften the inside of your mouth, the organs of perception, which I taught a different week, right? But that middle space, that softening, which is yours, by the way, that's your space, right? You can ground it and strengthen it. So lift your chest. And this space can conjoin with a sense of grounding. So feel your feet and your hands on the table, soften your jaw, be in the middle space, stay sturdy and strong. Take a breath or two. Right now, when I drop my chest and don't ground, the middle space feels very different. When you give direction to that place in your consciousness, emerging into a yoga pose, right? That's one of the ways that a yoga pose accesses subtler levels of the mind-body relationship, and in fact, I think, accesses some of the parasympathetic nervous system. All right, so everyone stand up. So again, if you don't know, I'm in a wheelchair, so I'm not standing up. And Laura is going to be on the, and so you're going to be able to see her doing this stuff. All right, and so mountain pose, right, where you stand, you balance on the four corners of your feet. You know, if you have your shoes and socks off, that'd be best, right? But like you actually, I ask you to balance on the four corners of your feet, notice that makes you go inward. I want you to stand tall, so press awareness down through the heels and stretch out the top of the head. So you are in control of whether you can move in multiple directions. So hit down through your heels, up to the top of the head, and then feel where the tips of your shoulders are. And take a couple of breaths, stretch your arms down, right? So the idea of mountain pose is you're grounded like a mountain, but you're expansive and tall. That's the sensation of expansion, right? And then release and drop, drop your chest and feel that you have less direction in an expansive way when you like drop your chest, right? So now I want you to stand in Tadasana, be big, and inhale and take your arms up over your head. Okay, so now you're moving in multiple directions. You're hitting down, you're rising up. Now I want you to do what's called chair pose or Utkatasana. I want you to kind of sit down, don't sit all the way down, but bend your knees and come down a little bit, right? So you're kind of sitting in a chair that's not there. And this is hard, right? And it's like, it's a strain. Pay attention to the feeling in your legs. And in a little bit, your legs are gonna start burning a little bit because your quadriceps are working like crazy, right? Pay attention to the work in your legs. And from the work in your legs, stand up. Come on up. And then take your arms down and take a break. So it's interesting what happens when you take your arms down. So like what happens when you focus on where the struggle is, right? You end up losing your sense of direction. All right, so stand in Tadasana again. Take your arms up over your head. Come down into chair pose, Utkatasana. Drop down, keep stretching your arms up. So this time as you're being here, and this is a hard pose, right? You got to work, right? That's part of what yoga makes you do, right? But this time, instead of focusing on your legs as you feel the fatigue, feel as if you're coming up and leading from your upper arm. So as you come up this time, lead from your upper arm and come on up. And then take your arms down. Take a break, right? Now notice that was a different feeling than when you focused on your legs. Now we're gonna do one more iteration of this. And again, now you're grounded in Tadasana, you're inhaling, you're taking your arms up over your head. Now you're coming down into the chair, Utkatasana, right? And you're gonna stay here a little bit. Unfortunately, fatigue is a really good teacher, right? It's part of what yoga poses trades on. But this time, as you're fatiguing a little bit, I want you to feel where your wrists are and come up leading from your wrists. Lead from your wrists and come on up and stand up. And then take your arms down. Now, I'll bet you, as stand in Tadasana, that when you led from your wrists, right, that it was less hard to stand up. Right? As opposed to when you focused on where the struggle was, the strength in your legs, hypervigilance, right? To stand up. And this one was good. It helped because if you can connect this part to your legs, that helps as you integrate your effort, right? But then when you did all that, but led from your wrists, and notice, we're gonna do it again in a second, but when you came up from led from your wrists, you didn't just come from your wrists. In order to feel and come up from your wrists, you had to feel and expand your presence up towards the sky more. So it turned out that an expansive vision or feeling of where you were in space helped you come up more easily, right? Try it again and show it to yourself. Take your arms up over your head. Come down into chair pose. And as you find where your wrists are, and you lead from your wrists, come on up and feel the expansion. Good. And then take your arms down. So if you think about what a sense of direction is, so often we think about a sense of direction being what you set a goal and you grind for the goal. That'd be like coming up just from your legs, right? Instead of just having an outward goal, right? If you integrate the goal more, that would be more like coming up from your upper arms because you're more integrated with what your goal is. And then at some point, instead of thinking that you have to push to come up, to reach for your goal, what if you already were there and you were following? This is why like people say, imagine, envision, in Vision Quest, right? They try to create the expansive, but what if you like learned how to do that more in your own mind-body relationship? That you start to realize that you can take some of the effort out of the struggle out of it if you actually connect and bring, and so you're on both sides of it and you come up. It's an amazing thing that happens in every yoga pose. I want to like teach this same thing in relationship to balance. So stand in Tadasana. Laura's got a chair there. So what I want you to do is do tree pose, which means to take one leg up and put it on the inside of there, like Laura's doing right there. But use the chair. If you struggle for balance, use a chair. What I want you to get is that it's okay to, in balance, to take help from what's around you, right? A yoga teacher or a yoga student will like struggle and think they got to do it alone because if they're not doing it alone, somehow they're not being as yogic. That is incorrect. A yogi figures out how to be supported by the space around them because a calmer mind will be better in a sense of direction. So Laura's trying to keep her leg up, right? So now in tree pose, it's a balancing pose, right? You can't keep your leg up there, Laura. It's okay. You can let it go down a little bit. But now take your arms and go up over your head. But at the same time, extend down through your feet, right? Go through the floor and up. In other words, have a sense of direct, and use the chair if you need to. So if you have your hand on your chair, you push on it lightly, but you're going down and up in order to balance. A sense of direction emerges from a grounded expansion. Good, and then take your arms down and your leg down. What you don't fully, you learn this in a yoga pose, is that balance is actually in integration with the space around you. It's not just a teeter-totter thing, right? And in order to realize the integration, you need to go in a direction in order for you to come into the midline of balance. So take your other leg up. So you might want to move the chair, Laura, to the other side. Or in front of you. In front of you is fine too, right? Take the leg up. You stabilize the mind. A grounded mind is going to make you feel a better sense of direction, as opposed to a striving, agitated mind for your goal, right? So your legs up, and then take your arms up and extend down to the floor. Come into the midline. Use the chair if you have to stay on balance, Laura. Yep. So take one arm up. Use support from what's around you. Travel down to the floor and beyond your fingertips and come into a better balance. Integrate with the space around you. Good, and then come on down. So one of my more favorite stories, and then have a seat, is a story I heard about Gandhi, about sense of direction, right? So the story about Gandhi, one of the stories I've heard, is that when he got on a train, here's the paradox. A lawyer gets on a train in southern India, takes a 9-day train ride, and steps off the train as Gandhi. Like there was a moment of transition. So given our Western minds, right? We sit there and go, Well, what happened to him on the train? Something must have happened. Something he must have gotten, must have read a book. What was he reading? Who did he talk to? Right? And I'm pretty sure that when Gandhi stepped off that train, he did not know in that moment he was going to hunger strike to bring about independence for India. He had no idea the particular parts of the story. He just knew what direction he was going to walk. He was going to walk and follow truthfulness and nonviolence. That you never get to know the path, the particular path that's in front of you, but you get to know the sense of direction. And that's why I think you can learn stuff like this from your mind-body relationship. Fixate less on where you need to go with it, which is what your mind's going to want to do and strive for, and figure out more and feel the process of moving, and let the direction, the sense of direction, emerge from the living, not from a plan. Right? And that doesn't mean don't have a plan. Of course, have goals. Have a goal, but know that the process of getting there is what's going to reveal the sense of direction that allows you to live more fully in your life. So this is something that I really think is integral to realizing a sense of direction. So sit up straight and tall as we end here. Put your hands, right? And so there's that middle space, that quiet space, that you either use the middle space or you can soften your jaw, the inside of your mouth that's down your forehead. And know that you don't need to know right in this moment what you're going to do in the next moment. What you can do is take that quieter part of you, hit down through your sitting bones, lift up through your chest, feel your feet, ground, and feel the sense of direction emerge from your process, not from where you're going, and then release. Now, what's interesting is when you go to sit up and you want to sit up even straighter, if you feel your body and allow yourself to feel what's above you as you stay grounded in your sitting bones. So there's this other really fabulous line from an ancient yogic text that says, the yogis say, we are the weaving between the earth and the sky. Like your body touches the airiness of the sky, but does so from the earth, that you're the weaving between the two, right? And so when I am teaching a yoga class or yoga pose, and I tell everyone to sit up straight and tall and reach for the sky, the overachievers tend to try to stretch their neck long, even maybe raise their eyebrows, They think that it's about physically getting there, right? Well, what if you ground down, lift up, and instead of striving for the sky, bring the sky down towards the earth. Bring it down. Soften your jaw on the inside of your temples, inside of your mouth to do it. You don't have to reach into the emptiness. You can actually bring it down, and your fullness will connect the two endpoints, right? These are the types of things that you can learn from your body. That the great thing about a mind-body practice is you get to practice them. You get to do all this while breathing and being alive. It's such a good way to learn in a controllable, small space, right? How to live fully and expansively. These are the things that I think that how the body can become a teacher. All right, everybody. If anyone has any questions or comments, I would be honored to answer them. Doesn't look if there's any questions coming in the chat box. I know some of that talk is weird, like bring the sky down to the top of your head. Until you do it, right? Until you think, wait, I can be grounded and integrated. These are both, right? What are some resources you can point me to gain further understanding the concepts you're talking about? Our website, mindbodysolutions.org. This is, this comes out of a paralyzed guy, like exploring the mind-body relationship. There's not a how-to book. I've had to figure out, because I live with a disability, how to like be whole without being able to control it.
To answer the question, can you view the lessons that you missed? Yes, they're all available on the TRF website.
Yeah, and there's also, just so you know, it's coming in April. There's going to be a series of 4 workshops, actually 5 workshops. Bessel's going to be on one. Dr. Ruth Lanius, the founder Dan Libby from the Veterans Warrior, the Veterans Yoga Project, and then a storyteller that I work with all the time. We're going to do a series on trauma that's going to go into some of these things even deeper and with more time. But on our website at mindbodysolutions.org, there's a YouTube channel. It's called The Hub. You can get to, or you can type it into YouTube on. And there's not exactly like this. I created this class, this series for Trauma Research Foundation. But you can type in Mind Body Solutions in the YouTube search bar, and you'll get our YouTube channel. So, come join us. Well, it's kind of fun to figure out that you always had within you the resources to live a full life, right? It's not about what's outside of you as much as you think. All right, or that you've been told, by the way. Chances are you've internalized the fact that you're inadequate, and you're not quite good enough, and somehow it's about finding something outside of you. That's all of our stories. I'm seeing a question. Do you have something to say about the different directions in space? Yes, I do. Got a lot to say about that. But being one of the gifts of living in a body is that you get to live in multiple directions at once. So it's something to actually practice. It's something to go, wait, you mean I can hit down through my sitting bones and I can stretch up to the top of my head? So this idea of sense of direction, I have an 86-year-old mother, right? And so standing up is getting harder and harder. And when I watch elderly people, again, and they try to stand up, they're trying to do it as if they're just grinding on their legs when I was teaching, and like just to focus on what they can't control. And they're thinking, because their legs are getting weaker, right? But if they can lean forward and feel a sense of direction and rise their sternum, not just engage their legs, and feel their tailbone come up into space, that sense of direction will literally require them to use less strength. I have had people that quadriplegics that have never been able to transfer on their own, that when you teach them this type of sense of direction, they can take already their arms that don't work as well, but now they can transfer, because this sense of direction is part of what we're not teaching. We're thinking it's all about this kind of strength. It is not. And it's also, the sense of direction doesn't come from your imagination. It literally, from a sense of grounding, expansion, balance, and movement, it emerges out of the movement. That's what you want to get. Can you suggest any adaptive teaching strength videos for teens with learning difference and emotional challenges? I would love to help you teach that population, right? More than there's like, hey, check out this, check out that. Some of this idea of boundary and feeling the container is really good for like kids with autism or emotional issues, but it's hard to get them to be able to trust boundary. And so a lot of the things that we teach in adaptive yoga that I'm an expert in are can be extrapolated into that context. And what mind-body solutions do will help you figure out how to do it. Because the principles are the same. The application of what I'm trying to show at mind-body solutions is expansive, right? And it's just helping people get to see the applications. But no, besides and they're constantly getting updated, they're constantly getting updated videos on there. What school of yoga did you learn from? Believe it or not, I'm an Angar teacher, right? I'm a certified Angar teacher, but because that breaks down the poses into parts more than other styles and helps me see into other. Have you already covered boundaries? Yeah, well, depends on what you think covered is. There is no expansion without boundary. Expansion without boundary is not expansion, it's disassociation. And so it turns out that being able to find the midline and move towards the center to expand out is the kind of expansion you want to learn. In survival situations, the human conscious can actually disassociate quickly. It's a good survival skill. It just can't be how you live. So boundary can start with I think the boundary is best taught by the body, but the other boundary, as you develop and realize more about inward awareness and the emptiness in you, you start to realize that the space in you and the emptiness in you is your best boundary between you and the world. But in order to realize that, you have to claim it. You have to practice it. And that takes time. This isn't like, there isn't a series of poses that you can do to realize the sense of space and boundary. But know that there's no freedom without constraint, right? You know, the way you realize the other side of the wall is to let there be the other side of the wall, even though that's why disability is such a profound teacher, right? Is because without what you can't do, it's not like you're supposed to run through the wall. You're supposed to realize the space on the other side of the wall without being able to see it. That can happen through the body. Anger, I believe you mean? No, Iyengar. That's a type of yoga. Because, maybe she's calling it anger yoga. I'm not sure. That might be. All right, everybody. I'm supposed to end within a half hour for sure. Next week will be another one. All right. Take care, everybody.